Hello again. Happy day 21 of the challenge. Today we're going to do a 30-minute Iyengar practice, very well-rounded practice. This is a good one to keep in your back pocket for days you just want to cover the bases of the standing poses and those king and queen inversions, which I will include today in this class. So we'll kind of move quickly. It's different than a flow class. Iyengar travels on the mat a little bit differently than vinyasa. So you'll see how that works if you're unfamiliar. So let's begin. I'm going to put you in child's pose to start. If you have a wall to work with, we are going to come into that headstand, and also we'll use it for downward dog, taking one leg up at a time. So it will be best to set up at a wall. And if you're not at a wall, you might want to pause and just move yourself so that you have wall space behind you. Take the knees wide, the feet together, sit forward with the arms, but back with the seat. And you can always support your head. You can always use your arms as support, although you wouldn't get the full extension of the arms. So maybe taking something under the forehead if the head to the floor is a little bit too much of a reach. Inviting the tailbone tip down toward the floor. Great way to begin a practice, just kind of setting down the ego, connecting with the breath, extending the spine right away, soothing the nervous system, coming into your body, onto your mat, into your practice. And maybe here inviting an intention into your heart, into your practice, your day. Sometimes this comes in the form of a word, a phrase, or a mantra. Sometimes an image or a concept. So whatever it is for you, whatever resonates on a heart level. And from here, moving into downward facing dog, try to be close enough to the wall that you'll be able to extend a leg up one at a time. Curl the toes underneath and start with the lengthening of the torso. You can always walk your heels if your legs feel somewhat tight before pressing the heels down. Try to take your chest toward your thighs and your front thighs towards your back thighs. Roll your inner thighs back. Keep your kneecaps lifted and your legs as fully extended as you can. And keep sinking your shoulder blades in toward the chest. We'll come into Eka Pada Adho Mukha Svanasana, which means we'll take one leg up, raising the right leg, extending the toes onto the wall, and then fully extending the right leg, fully extending the left leg, deepening your pose. Good, taking that right foot down, extending the left leg up. Make sure both legs are straight. Your left foot is as high as it can be on the wall. You haven't distorted the shape of the pose to be here, so keep the shoulder blades moving in. Go ahead and lower the toes. Bring your knees down and turn yourself around. Coming into Dolphin Pose, we're going to prepare for headstand. So curl the toes underneath. You're interlocking your hands. Place your head on the floor and raise your legs. So this is headstand preparation. If you feel like your head is kind of jamming into a hard floor, you can always double your mat up here. Tiptoe in. And you can either work with raising the legs one at a time, or you could bring yourself into Varkshasana, headstand. And if you are doing the raising the legs one at a time, don't do it too fast. So take at least 5 breaths on each side, maybe repeat it a couple of times. And when you need to, take a rest in child's pose. Those of you in Varkshasana headstand, just a few more moments. Like I said in the headstand class, this is a good pose to place early when you have more energy. Start to move
your feet to the floor, either by bending knees or taking one leg down at a time. When you find your way down, taking child's pose.
Right. So I work with this X-shaped mat so that I can come through that part of the sequence with some sticky mat support, but we don't need it any longer. So if you are doing that as well, you can remove that top mat. And we'll be working with the horizontal mat, finding our way to Uttanasana. So standing forward bend. If your hands don't touch the floor here, use blocks. You can also support your hands on your shins, but take a few moments with the concave lumbar, looking forward, extending the spine, gathering length in the torso. And on an exhalation, extending more deeply toward the legs, you might start to walk your hands in next to the feet. Keep your legs as straight as you can. 5 breaths. After an exhalation, look forward, bend your knees. Try to get your thigh bones level with the floor. That's might not come in as deep, but one day, someday. And then sweep the arms up for Utkatasana, chair pose. Try to take the tailbone into the body. Look forward. Your torso is as upright as you can make it. Sit down deeply. Lift your pelvic floor. And inhale, stand up. You're going to come into standing mountain Tadasana, joining the legs and feet, the center of the mat. Put your shoulders in line with your hips. Adjust the tailbone in, adjust the skull back. Let the front thighs move toward the back thighs. Let the buttocks move toward the front body. And adjust the line of the chin toward the line of the base of the skull. And let your eyes blink open. We'll prepare for the standing poses by cultivating a little bit of attention and focus and balance with tree pose, Varkshasana. So you'll balance on your right leg, prop your left heel, hold your hips, try to move the outer right hip bone in. Step the leg as high as you can, the foot I meant, either alongside the inner thigh or alongside the calf muscle. You can always keep your toes on the floor if you need to support that balance. Try to bring as much effort of the leg, meaning the foot, as you have the foot, meaning the leg. Pick a gaze that's straight ahead, join the hands, and eventually raise the arms and fully extend them. Looking out onto the horizon line, but really keeping attention drawn inward. Bringing the hands down, switching out to other side. You can prop the heel, keeping the toes down, anchor into the lower leg, or come up to the root of the upper inner left thigh. Shoulders and hips square. The bent knee is off to the side and gently pressing back to keep your hip forward. Hands move together. When you get that inner cue that you have become stable enough to let go of the hips. And again, raising the arms when you get that inner cue. And try to feel just as much energy down through the foot as you're feeling up through the fingertips. So lines of energy continue up and down, beyond the boundary of the body. And taking those steps back in reverse to come out. Good. So we'll come into some standing poses that will maybe need the block support. So place your blocks to the back edge of the mat. So the Iyengar poses, we kind of travel a little bit differently on the mat. We jump or step out. Hands come up to the chest. Try to jump out without jumping into the sky. So try to spread the feet without popping up super high. We're going to come to the right side first. So turning right toes out, left toes in. Turning your torso back to face square in the middle. Extend the arms. Rotate palms up. Feel the upper arms really nice and active. Keep that and move from elbows to fingertips back down. Inhale here. Exhale, extending into triangle pose. Extending the right side body, placing the block underneath your right shoulder. Stacking the top arm. Crown of the head represents the line of the spine that begins at the tailbone. You're turning your torso to the left away from the floor. Take your head back, take your top shoulder back. Really feel open. Transitioning into half moon, take the left hand onto the left hip. Bend the right knee, make sure it tracks with the toes, that it doesn't waver around. Step the block forward, step the left foot in. Now exhale, half moon. Really activate the aerial leg so that you have a fully extended leg, you have a flexed foot, you're directing line of energy that way, and you'll feel more stable. Hand back to the hip, step back into triangle pose, and then on an in-breath, bring yourself up, toes forward, jumper step back together, Tadasana. Left side, hands to the chest. You can always step out if the jumping isn't working for you. Turning out left foot, turning in right foot. Steer the torso back to center. Extend the arms out, palms up. Keep the upper arm action. Rotate elbows to fingertips, extending to the left. Prop the hand in line with the shoulder. Top arm stacks above. Revolving the trunk from left to right. Take the head back. Sorry about that. Take the head back. Transitioning into balancing half moon, hand comes to the hip. Left knee bends, travel with your blocks, flip it forward on an exhale. Lengthen into Ardha Chandrasana, balancing half moon. Really reaching out through the right heel. Hand returns to the hip. Step back into triangle pose. And on an in-breath, lift yourself out of the pose. Toes point forward, jumper step back in, unfold the arms, mountain pose. Beautiful. So check in with your breath. Feel the stillness coming into the body. Notice the aftermath or the afterglow. Make sure it's the latter, not the former. And we'll come into the next two poses. Warrior two and side angle pose. Jumping or stepping out. Hands to the hips. Turning right toes out, left toes in. Revolve the trunk back to the broad side of the mat. Exhale, take the knee into a 90-degree bend. So you might need to open the distance between the feet. Extend the arms. Keep your torso upright. I always use the example of a book could be supported just on your head. It's not tipping off to the side. Look over your right fingertips. Sit down deeply. Don't let your torso follow your gaze. So keep winding your torso back to the left. Good. Inhale here. Exhale, extending to the right. Take your hand down to your block, whatever height you need. Stack the top arm, revolve it right, and align the biceps with the ear. Big yawning open left side body. Inhale, sweeping back to warrior two without the legs changing, so keep it really nice and deep there. Next inhale, pushing down through the right foot to re-straighten the leg. Toes turn in, hands to the hips. Jump or step it back in. Sometimes it's a little too wide to jump it back in from that big wide distance. So find your way back, left side. Jumping or stepping. Toeing out with the left, toeing in with the right. The knee comes over the ankle, warrior two, extend the arms. Turn the trunk back to face the broad side of the mat. Turn your gaze, look over the left fingers. Your knee should be tracking with your second toe, so take a peek at that alignment relationship. Take it deep. Inhale here, exhale, extending left. Blocking the hand, stacking the top arm. Revolve the arm to face left, biceps in alongside the ear. Roll that side body from left to right. Feel the big space coming into the right side body. Anchor into your outer right foot. Lift the inner arch of the right foot. Keep your legs as they are and inhale back to warrior two. Push the floor away to straighten the leg. Turn the toes forward and jump or step back in. Tadasana. So close the eyes, look down toward your cheeks. Let your breath roll through. Big, loud, fast, crashing breath maybe. And just wait for it to become smooth and silky. Good. Now we're going to put both blocks off to the right. We'll come into warrior one, warrior three next. You may or may not need the blocks, but they're there if you do. So always setting yourself up for success is better to have the props and not use them than not have them and need them. So we'll jump or step out. Take hold of the hips. Right toes out, left toes way in so that you're pointing toward the short end of the mat. Both legs are straight, especially the back leg, which tends to bend. Straighten it. Take the arms up. Take a big inhale here. Exhale, sink the right knee above the right ankle. Take the tailbone way in so your tail isn't flying back. Let your chest lift, lift, lift. Pivot off of your back heel without disturbing the pose. Exhale, extend over the right thigh. Step in with the left foot. Exhale, warrior three. And if you need those blocks, they're right there. Pull your shoulders back in and shoot your breastbone forward instead. Good. Step back into warrior one. Inhale, open, and jump back in. Tadasana. Close your eyes. Just kidding. We're going to do the left side first. Open your eyes. Jump or step out. Move your blocks first. These are real live tape recorded classes, not edited, as you know. So sorry for the kind of the mix-ups today, the phone calls and such. It is what it is. So we're jumping out. We're going to take the left. Left toes out, right toes in. Point your hips squarely at that short end of the mat. Straighten both legs with the tailbone in. Raise the arms. Inhale, come to the top of the breath. Exhale, the knee over the ankle. Warrior one. Pivot off your back heel. Extend over the front thigh. Step in with the right toes. Exhale, launch into Virabhadrasana 3, warrior 3, using the blocks if you need them. And then stepping back into warrior 1. Inhale to straighten the leg, turn the feet, and jump or step back in, Tadasana. Legs and feet together, shoulders back, eyes closed, looking at your cheeks. So getting out of the way of your breath. Let those breaths be big and loud and fast. And just being the witness. Okay. We're going to come into Varkshasana, into revolving triangle. Blocks come back to the right. From the center of the mat, jump or step up. Right toes out, left toes in. Point your hips at the short end of the mat. Inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, lengthen forward and put the blocks right underneath your shoulders. Move your torso to align with your right leg. And take a few breaths, elongating the torso and getting the nose tip out beyond the big toe. Next exhale, you're going to bow deeply toward your right leg. Good. Inhale, come back up, concave lumbar position. For a more modified revolving triangle, you're going to keep your left block hand down. For a less modified, deeper version, take your left hand, cross the body, and move it to the outer foot block. Take your right hand onto your right hip, pushing into the 3 points of contact. Revolve your torso to the right. Pull that outer right hip bone toward midline. And then the cherry on top, if it happens, if the shoulders align in a stacked position, the arm comes up. We're going to do a big old windmill to leave the pose. You're going to exit the pose, starting with the hand that's down first on an inhale. Sweep it up, open yourself up. Nice and wide. If blocks are in your way, step your feet together. Be safe about it. Don't jump. Don't break a toe. Beautiful. Transfer your blocks to the left. I say break a toe because I have actual bricks, which is what they call them in India. They're not bricks, but they're hard bamboo. So it would break my toe, but if it's foam, it probably wouldn't. Okay, second side, as you're ready. Jump or step out. Good, take the hips, left toes out, right toes in. Raise the arms, come to the top of the in-breath. Exhale, hinging over the left leg. Align the blocks evenly around the left foot, inner and outer left foot. Steer your torso, breastbone should align with the left leg. Couple breaths, elongating the torso. On the exhale, draping the torso toward the left shin. Keep your legs firm and pressing them from front to back. Finish off an exhalation on the inhale, come back up to the concave lumbar. So for modified, keep your right hand down, and for less modified, move the right hand across to the opposite side of the body to the left block. Left hand comes out the left hip. Revolve your trunk on the exhale, turning it left. And maybe stacking the arm. Good. We're gonna inhale and lead with the bottom hand first. Windmill, the arms come up and open back to the broad side of the mat. Jump or step back in, unfold the arms, drop the shoulders, close the eyes, receive your breath. Notice how you feel. Notice if there's any more steadiness in the body. We're going to come into one last sequence. We're going to come into warrior one, turn it into a lunge, and then turn it into revolving side angle pose. So blocks are back to the right. You can jump or step out. Pivot to face right, turning with both feet. Raise the arms. Exhale, take the knee above the ankle, and then pivot off the back heel. Good. Inhale here. Exhale, you're going to take the left hand and either take the block to the inner or outer foot. Inner if you need more modified, outer if you're okay with deeper pose. If you have outer foot, you're going to press the arm against the leg. Revolve your torso to face right. You can keep your hand on your hip and keep rolling the shoulder back, or you may decide to come into the revolving side angle arm alongside the ear. Good. If you did bring the arm in, bring it back to the hip. We're going to lead with that grounded hand again to come up and open, and then jump or step back in. Nice. Okay, carry both blocks to the other side. And we're using two here, even though you only use one, so that you have the spacing. You can decide if you want a kind of a wider pose or more compact, which is more challenging. All right, so jump or step your way out. Turn to face the left. Raise the arms. Warrior one. Pivot off the back heel. Extend over the front thigh and take the right hand across the body, or keep it to the inner foot. But try to find the arm against the thigh contact if you do cross. Left hand to your left hip, revolving your trunk to the left. Maybe the side angle arm, and maybe that's too much and you keep your hand on your hip. Keep working the shoulder back. Finishing an exhalation. If your arm is up, bring it back to the hip. You're going to lead with that bottom hand coming off first. Open up, big windmill, and jump or step back in. Tadasana. Step your feet wide. Bring your hands to the floor. Bowing for Prasarita Padutanasana, the wide standing forward bend. The fingertips start to move to the same line that the big toes are on.
You can see my elbows are wide here, so try to pull the elbows in so they're only as broad as the shoulders, which in turn helps you broaden the shoulders. Let the top of the head come toward the floor. Walk your hands forward. Walk your feet in. We're going to come into our last pose, shoulder stand. And if you need to modify, you can do a supported bridge pose with a block running under your sacrum, whatever level or height you need. If you're setting up for shoulder stand, remember you want appropriate blanket height, sufficient blanket height. I like to put my mat on top of the stack, so I know that I'm not going anywhere. There's the block for my lower back. I'm going to come into it this time without the wall behind me, but feel free to use the wall for your feet to help you bring the legs up. And I'm making my strap loop that is customized to the distance between, like right above my elbows, so that my arms are parallel and I can hold my back without my elbows getting any wider than that. I'm actually going to tighten it just a little. Leaving it on my non-dominant arm. I'm going to come onto my setup and make sure my shoulders come exactly where they need to go, about an inch from the edge. And then I'm going to use my own momentum to bring my legs behind me. Grab my strap and put it on my other arm. And then help my shoulders kind of tuck in, help my hands come onto my back, and raise my legs. Lifting with your legs. Keeping those hands walking up the back, which is down the back, so you're inverted. Chest and chin really snuggled together. Elbows driving down into the floor. And even though you're active, you're starting to pull away from the outer world. The sense organs are really quieting down here, actually. You might close your eyes. You can come down by bringing your feet toward the floor below the head, or you can come down like I'm going to by bringing the feet above the head. Cloud pose, at which point I remove my straps. I'm going to reach toward my feet, extend my arms fully, and then use my stomach muscles to help me come down slowly. And then once I do hit that block with my lower back, I'm going to adjust toward my head side so that my shoulders and my head are both down on the floor. My back is still supported. And I'm going to put my feet together in bound angle and take a few moments. And if you were in bridge pose, you can take your feet wide now, let your knees fall together. Just a little bit more soothing. And like I said before, this is appropriate to remain here if your body is able to rest. You remain here for Shavasana if you want. Otherwise, if you're going to set up for the classical Shavasana, try to do so maintaining the quietness and the peace that you have already begun to cultivate with that pose of shoulder stand. Try not to jar the brain, try not to jar the body more than you need as you transition. Wherever you are, we're going to be here another minute. Letting go of the practice and resting in whatever remains. Start to move your hands onto your belly. Gently join the knees and roll to your side. And find your way to seated. Stay for a couple breaths once you're seated. If you have that height from your shoulder stand, you can sit on it. It's a nice little perch. Joining the hands in front of the heart. Lifting the corners of the mouth. Inviting a sense of gratitude. Namaste.